What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett from Rants. As always, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000. We hope you guys will help us get there. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk some Wonder Woman 1984. I knew that this would be the week that it would be almost Wonder Woman 1984 on basically every YouTube channel and basically all throughout the internet. I thought it was going to be for all the right reasons, though, not the wrong reasons. And let me tell y'all why. I actually enjoyed the original Wonder Woman that came out in 2017. Thought Gal Gadot did a great job. I thought Chris Pine and Steve Trevor, they were great. I even kind of had hope for Kristen Wiig's Cheetah, but let me tell you this too. I also, Patty Jenkins directing the film. She did the original one, and I just thought, well, it's going to be a carryover to the to Wonder Woman 1984. But one thing I did actually forget was that Zack Snyder was one of the main people that wrote the original Wonder Woman, where Patty Jenkins had almost full creative control on this one, and Zack Snyder wasn't a part of this film. So, and it shows. Let's face it, whether you like Zack Snyder or not, you got to admit there's some element to his creativity process that really the movies might not be great, but the idea and the concept of it is pretty good. Wonder Woman 1984, though, the first time I saw it, I thought it was very long. I did not really understand where Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord was going in a lot of places. I didn't really understand what was his end game exactly. It sure as heck wasn't ruling the world, because if he'd had his way, there would have been no world to rule. So I don't know exactly what his intention actually was. It's a terrible superpower to have when it's the thing that's actually killing you too. But after all that, I would still have given this movie a, I don't know, 6 out of 10. I still would. Here on Rants or Us, Lance and I, we sat there and we discussed it. He loved the movie. I was kind of on it, but I could see why he loved the movie. The second time I watched it, though, it was almost unbearable in a lot of different ways. And even Rotten Tomatoes, which usually does not get things right, actually, for once, is very truthful about how the movie actually turned out. 72% audience score. That's pretty low. That is pretty low for a audience score of this magnitude. And 63% is even just almost unheard of. Usually in movies, the early critics usually give it I don't know, 90 something critic score. This one, though, while it did get rave reviews in the first reviews of it, it still wasn't enough, because now it's just dropped like a rock. And to me, that just shows you just how even the media cannot make this dumpster fire into at least a mediocre film. I was sitting there reading through some of the lists of what people had said about the movie that supposedly liked the movie, the early critic scores. It was talking about hopeful and hope, and just how wonderful and great it was in a lot of ways. There was nothing about Wonder Woman 1984 that was hopeful. Even if you look at it through rose-colored glasses, you will never see anything hopeful about this movie. One, you have Wonder Woman that is depressed about Steve Trevor. Nothing hopeful about that. You have Pedro Pascal's character that is about to go bankrupt, about to be shown for the bad guy that he is, for the but he, there's just all of these little things. Steve Trevor's dead. The guy that keeps getting raped by Gal Gadot throughout the film, that has no control over his body because Steve Trevor is over it. That's not very hopeful. Like, there's so many things that are just not hopeful about this. Maxwell Lord's main goal. What is that hopeful about? Nothing is hopeful about it. To grant everybody their wish, is that what it is? And then to have everything go wrong? Like, what is the... It's like so 2020 to think that a movie about wishes going wrong is a sign of hope. Like, that's how far we've sunk in 1 year. That a movie where everything goes wrong for someone, that every wish goes wrong, where every wish somehow takes the greatest thing that you love or you have away from you in return, is somehow a hopeful experience. I think that's just a sign of the times. If you really think about it, that's a sign of everything that's happened to the world in 2020, is when that is a hopeful message that at least for a time you get what you want, even though you pay a terrible, terrible price for it. So, I mean, overall, I didn't hate the movie. I just have a very, very strong distaste for it. And it's so sad because I'm a huge Gal Gadot fan. I'm a huge Chris Pine fan even. Like, I thought not a Trekkie by any stretch of the imagination, but I always thought he did pretty good in the Star Trek movies. He's just a good actor. He's good in this. Like, to be honest with you, Gal Gadot and him actually had some of the better scenes. Granted, if you can look past, I don't know, him in another guy's body, and to make it even worse, at the very end they remind you of that when she's flirting with the guy that she had basically been sleeping with these last couple of days, and he was just so blissfully unaware of it. I always kind of wondered, throughout the movie they made almost every guy in that like some creep in some form or fashion, yet he seemed like an okay guy. And I always wondered, he's the one guy that wasn't flirting with her. So exactly what was he going off to that he had to leave Gal Gadot for, and, to not flirt with her about? Was it a family? Like, all these things just keep going through my head constantly now when I'm thinking about this movie. Because I'm just like, that is so crazy. Like, how did they get away with doing that? How did Patty Jenkins think that's a great idea? How did Gal Gadot and Chris Pine and all these people, all these Hollywood actors and directors and people that are right in the mix of the supposed Me Too movement, go and think that that's okay? Like, are you kidding me? That's like the worst possible thing you could do during the Me Too movement. Yet they're only being called out here on YouTube. They're not even being called out in the media about it. I mean, Patty Jenkins is now, no matter how bad this movie scores, she's still getting Wonder Woman 3. Explain to me how that happens. I would love for someone to explain to me how someone can drop the ball so badly, have a movie that was 2.5 hours long, yet we only got to see Wonder Woman in her suit about an hour and a half inside in the movie. Not even at her full potential in a lot of different ways. We had a lot of plot points that was just shown, or was hinted at, but then they just happened to appear right when it was needed. The suit of armor is just the best example of it. Like, are you kidding me? Was that what was supposed to have been the whole point of that scene with her as a child? Was not to show that cheating is not the right way, but to talk about that Amazonian warrior that saved the day thousands of years ago and had that armor. Is that what that was going to be about? Because if that's the case, that was 10 or 15 minutes in the movie that they could have just, I don't know, just done a quick overview of where she's talking to, I don't know, Steve Trevor, and she just mentions what she mentioned when she was talking to Steve Trevor, and just happened to say, hey, this is the armor from blah, 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 this. That could have happened that way. But no, they had to do that along with the scene with her as a child. So overall, I was just like, as a screenwriter, I do not see how, or just a writer in general, I do not understand exactly how they got away with that. That is so first draft like stuff. That's the kind of stuff that when you're writing your first draft on something, that you don't catch until you start on your second draft of it. But it's like everything that Patty Jenkins wanted in this movie, she got. Even clear. I mean, there's been articles that's being talked about that Warner Brothers were not wanting. The studio was not wanting the mall scene or the her as an Amazon child scene. If they wanted at least one of them cut. Well, no, she ended up getting both. And to me, I think if they would have started off with the mall scene, that would have been perfectly fine. Not that I had a problem with her as a child, competing in the Olympics. I thought that was good, but it was pointless. It really played no point throughout the entire movie. But there's so many scenes about that you could just say that that just, I don't know. There's just so many scenes in that movie where you could say that was pointless. The movie stalls like in the middle, something terrible. Like it's just not good. Now I'm not going to just like completely and totally harp on the film. There was some great stuff in it. And of course this isn't a review. We've already done the review for it here on Rants or Us. But I just wanted to clarify why this thing has such a low score on Rotten Tomatoes, and even IMDb gives it a 5.7. Like, I mean, that is just crazy. That in this day and age when you got DC and Marvel movies coming out of the woodworks like crazy, and no matter how bad they are, usually they're hailed as, I don't know, the next great thing. And then these actors and actresses that are a part of it get these even bigger roles. These directors get to go into like some kind of, I don't know, amazing echelon of directors or actors. Take Zack Snyder, for instance. Zack Snyder, I mean, Batman versus Superman, are you kidding me? And yet they're coming out with the Snyder cut and they're supposed to be like, well, he's going to save the day on this one for Justice League. Really? Have y'all forgot Batman v Superman? I mean, come on. That was a terrible movie. And then that's supposedly going to be your savior? So I don't buy into it. I just know how it usually works by now. That if a Marvel movie comes out, we got to praise it even if it sucks. If a DC movie comes out, we can say maybe it's not that good, but we're still going to give it, the average person is going to give it like, a 7 out of 10 or something along those lines. Just because it's their favorite heroes. So when you start seeing critic scores like that, this is almost unheard of for any movie. And so that's the part that just like, I don't know, puzzles me to the extreme, because I'm like, I can't believe people are telling the truth. I really can't. Because in this day and age, it just don't happen, especially with the critics. Like a lot of people, they forget that. Some of these critics are just shills. They get early, they get a chance to review it earlier than a lot of critics, and to get their review out there before everybody else so they can get the most views. So usually they give really good ratings. Well, apparently there's actually some critics that actually have a backbone out there that are actually giving this movie what it actually deserves. and that's just a 63% rating, basically. I mean, and I think that's kind of what it deserves. I really do. I don't think it should be any lower. I don't think it should be any higher. I think it should be right in that range. It's like a D level movie. That's the way I look at it. It's not an F, but it's definitely a C minus to D movie, in my opinion. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for today. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if y'all enjoyed this movie. Me personally, I enjoyed parts of it. There's parts of it that is really good. Would I pay money to go see it in theaters and going through that experience? Probably not. Probably not. I'm kind of glad that I could watch it on HBO Max because that way I didn't have to pay anything other than what I'd already paid. So I was kind of excited about that. But I still kind of, I will admit, I still, watching it the second go around, I still kind of felt maybe a little bit robbed because I felt like, yeah, I didn't have to really pay anything extra for it. But that's 2 hours of my time, of my life, that I will never get back. Or 2.5 hours, I guess you could say. Almost 3. But anyways, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Y'all take